Jiang and Gu Kaishan were flying on the sword. Our boy's mind was filled with questions and curiosity. He extended his hands and asked if he could practice the techniques of all the races of heaven. Gu Kaishan crossed his arms, began to gaze toward the ground, and replied that this was a question even he could not answer since many had tried to take this path, but almost no one had managed to succeed because the techniques practiced were in conflict with the heavenly Tao. The master revealed that Ying Zhan had been the only one in hundreds of years from Great Xia who had succeeded. Jiang started looking down with a lost gaze and began to think. Even if he had talent like Ying Zhan, not even Gu Kaishan had the ability to teach him the techniques of the 10,000 races of the abyss. Ying Zhan was a descendant of the human emperor of Great Xia, and back then the emperor of humanity had led troops to counterattack the 10,000 races, capturing many of the beasts. Now things had changed since the martial god Jiang Xuanji only focused on defending the entrance that connected to the realm of the 10,000 races. Gu Kaishan activated his power, causing the sword to shoot out like lightning. If our boy could obtain first place on the list of geniuses, he would try to use his authority to transfer some units from the capital. Upon hearing this, Jiang couldn't help but feel happy. Some time later, night fell and Jiang Chen went to his apartment located in the city. He opened his palm, causing it to begin releasing Xiao Jia's energy. Jiang started observing this, and his eyes filled with joy, making a smile appear on his face. The journey to the ancient god's corpse had been very useful since his insects had eaten and grown significantly. That night, Little Nine's offspring and Xiao Jia's red beetles could reproduce again. At that moment, the ancestral tree of all things appeared behind our boy. Upon feeling this, he couldn't help but go into shock, and his eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't believe there was movement in his divine consciousness. In the tree, there was a new green fruit never seen before. Now that the ancestral tree of all things had borne fruit again, Jiang realized that the reason behind it was due to the increase in the number of insects. Jiang's eyes filled with surprise. He approached the tree and extended his hand, and the fruit began to fall into his palm. He was somewhat confused and surprised since he had never seen a green fruit before. The statistics window of the fruit appeared. It was a green lightning fruit. It could grant the user the opportunity to awaken the unique hidden profession known as Sovereign of Electricity, granting 3 abilities. The first one called Lightning Bolt, which allowed the user to transform into an electric current and teleport within the electrical field generated by themselves, ignoring obstacles. The current range of this electrical field was 50 meters. The second ability was called Ray Fusion, which allowed the user to absorb electrical energy and store it in their own cells to later release it in a fierce attack. The third and final ability was called Divine Judgment. The user's palm would transform into a source of electricity, instantly releasing an electric current. Upon seeing the statistics, a joyful smile spread across Jiang's face. With this fruit he would be able to obtain a second profession and become a divine-level spiritual master with the power to manipulate electricity, becoming a job changer with dual class. While our boy was distracted thinking, the system informed him that the breeding of insects had been completed. The red beetle now had offspring of 30,000 hatchlings, and the 9 miasma wings now had offspring of 12 million hatchlings. Then, an explosion appeared behind him, causing the sky to fill with small beetles. Little Nine was furious. Now that Xiao Jia had reproduced, she gave him the order to leave. Jiang's body began to emit a powerful aura, making his eyes fill with excitement. He couldn't help but smile, realizing that this increase in power was thanks to Xiao Jia's new offspring. Jiang's statistics window appeared. He was level 36 and in the second transformation, with the title of Sovereign of Insects. His current professions were Divine Level Spiritual Breeder and Sovereign of Electricity. Our boy had 2 talent classes. The first class included Universal Growth, Divine Evolution, and Ancestral Tree of All Things. The second class included Hidden Lightning, Lightning Fusion, and Divine Judgment. Jiang's skills were Human Sword, Earthly Sword, Heavenly Sword, and Great Tao of the Sword. He also had 2 calamities, the Insect Mother, Little Nine at level 36, with a progeny of 12 million insects, and Xiao Jia at level 32 with a progeny of 30,000 insects. His current strength was 409 points, his agility was 428 points, his energy was 379, his constitution was 498, and he had a combat evaluation of 410 stars. The energy around his body became more intense. He clenched his fist and focused on the status window. Thanks to the reproduction of the insects, in addition to the Sovereign of Electricity, his combat strength had also increased. And thanks to the characteristics of the red armor beetle, his constitution had almost doubled compared to before. His eyes began to shine intensely, He punched the air, making electricity appear around his arm. He couldn't help but smile because even though in the prodigy competition he wouldn't be able to use Little Nine's power, with his new class and new abilities, he would be able to sweep through an area without much effort. And if all this didn't work, in the worst case scenario, he could use Xiao Jia's power and unleash the Dark Demon. It was nighttime in the mountains of Qinluo's war zone. In the depths of Qinling, there was a powerful blue dragon flying through the sky. Somewhere in the mountains, there was a group of men and a woman sitting. In front of them stood a large wooden table. The powerful dragon descended to the ground, and a black-haired man wearing a summer shirt got off the beast. The others were somewhat surprised to see that the man had arrived. With a forced smile, he asked them not to exaggerate since they were indeed punctual compared to him who had come all the way from Guanghai, mentioning that he was exhausted. The woman who had her eyes closed turned towards him, and with a cheerful smile mentioned that it was surprising to see someone from Guanghai dressed in this way. While everyone else wore formal clothes, the two of them were protectors of the country, so she didn't understand why there was such a difference between them. The gray-haired man sitting next to her began observing them and with a smile mocked her by saying that in this world, if they talked about sarcasm and oddities, she was number one. He didn't even bother to take a seat with the others. He sat on top of the dragon's body, turned towards them, and explained that people from Guanghai simply valued ostentation. Upon hearing this, they started arguing, but just then the muscular man forcefully struck the table and with an angry expression ordered them to stop and decided it was time to talk about the main matter. The long-haired man placed his hand on his shoulder, indicating that he should not lose his composure. Everyone remained silent, and the old man revealed that this year, the competition of celestial geniuses had a different situation compared to last year. Besides the strongest region, which was the capital, there were also Madu and Jiangnan. Jiangnan not only had Jiang Wuxuang but also Jiang Chen had appeared, who possessed strength superior to the geniuses of Madu. The old man's eyes filled with seriousness. He began staring intently at the man and revealed that previously the war district of Jiangnan used to join forces with them to face Madu and the capital together, but this year they had no intention of allying with them. The gray-haired man intervened, began to observe the old man, and mentioned that his old friend Xiao Yuanchen had been inexplicably exiled to the underground abyss. With a cheerful smile, the woman extended her hand and asked if this year's plan was to join forces to eliminate Jiangnan first. Since anyway, before the 6 war zones had united to confront the capital without gaining much advantage. Upon hearing this, the others thought Xing was right and that it was better to fight for second place than for first. The old man decided to hold a vote. Those in favor of joining forces could raise their hands. The gray-haired man raised his hand, saying that the Wuzang war zone was in favor. Xing from the Tianfu war zone also raised her hand. The muscular man from King Lan's 9th war zone also raised his hand. Everyone raised their hand except the man wearing the summer shirt. He was Yun Jantian. The others asked why he was not in favor of joining forces. Yun Jantian stuck his finger into his ear and his eyes filled with disdain and hatred, asking if they had finished discussing. He began to gaze at the ground and with a smile revealed that this time he had not come to form an alliance with them. He approached them, slammed the table hard, and with a confident smile made it clear that this summer in the Daxia Genius competition, the Guanghai War District was going to win. Everyone remained silent except for the gray-haired man, his attention fixed on Yun Jantian. With an angry expression, he asked why he was talking nonsense. He mentioned again that his war district was going to win the Daxia Genius competition. Saying these words felt very good to him. The eyes of the gray-haired man filled with rage, causing him to clench his fist tightly, crushing the glass. Xing opened her eyes and with a furious gaze began staring intently at Yun Jantian. He decided it was time to leave and climbed onto the dragon. The dragon opened its mouth and started flying at great speed. Yun Jantian placed his arms behind his back and, with a smile, told them not to worry as he would no longer bother them nor inform anyone about this. The muscular man began gazing toward the table and asked the others if Yun Jantian had hit his head. The gray-haired man extended his hand, explaining that surely he had been kicked by a donkey or perhaps he had an ace up his sleeve they were unaware of. They decided to stop thinking about the matter. The old man grabbed the glass and his attention fixed on it. With a serious look, he mentioned that as long as they, the 4 great war zones, joined forces and formulated a perfect plan, Jiangnan would soon be defeated. Somewhere in Chujiang was the dangerous city of Wushan. On top of the cliff were members of the Church of the Ancient God. While several men were prostrated, their leader, a man wearing a red cape, approached the cliff and began observing the city. He asked how things were going for the Divine Sun, questioning if they had discovered any unusual movements. One of his men told him not to worry since the great divine sun had successfully descended as the first genius of Guanghai's war district and had gained full trust and support from Yun Jantian, Guanghai's national protector. With the current strength of the great divine sun, he was bound to obtain first place in the ranking of geniuses. Upon hearing this, a smile spread across the leader's face since the supreme honor of Dazia had been snatched from the church of the ancient god. He extended his hand toward the city. He wanted to see the expressions of the invincible protectors of the country. Now, the entire plan had already begun to take effect. All that remained was to wait for the competition for ranking among geniuses to begin, something that would attract everyone's attention in Dazia. He extended his hands toward the sky, and his body began emitting an evil energy, revealing that at that moment, a beast tide was about to sweep through all of Chujiang. Upon sensing this energy, all members of the cult clasped their hands together, saying that with Chujiang's sacrifice, the ancient god would return. The next day, in Jiangnan's war zone central plaza, geniuses who were going to participate in the competition gathered. In front of them was a large screen and only one day remained before the competition commenced. Duanfeng, who had his arms behind his back, decided to repeat the rules he had mentioned before for those who did not remember them. Among the participants was our boy. With a curious gaze, he began to observe Duanfeng in silence. He had not been present in Jiangnan, so he realized that he was going to repeat the rules for him. Duanfeng activated the screen and with a serious expression explained that in the competition of geniuses, there were a total of 8 great war zones, with 80 celestial geniuses. The competition was divided into 2 rounds. The first round was in teams. The small teams from the 8 great war zones entered a secret realm in Qin Liu's area to fight among themselves, eliminating 4 war zones with the fewest survivors. In this round, what was evaluated was teamwork. And no matter how strong one might be, if they could not protect their teammates they would lose. Everyone was somewhat surprised and began talking among themselves. Jiang remained calm and with a tranquil gaze started thinking silently. Duanfeng revealed that in the secret realm they were not going to be able to hide, since if someone stood still, they would be struck by lightning. Additionally, the range of the secret realm was going to shrink every hour, and people outside the circle were going to be directly eliminated. Even though they died in the secret realm, they would be able to revive afterward. Jiang's eyes filled with excitement, causing a smile to spread across his face. If he stayed still, he would be struck by lightning, which was going to be perfect for using his new class and accumulating electricity. Thinking about this made his body start emitting thunder. One of the boys next to him couldn't help but feel somewhat surprised. The second round was an individual ranking battle. After the elimination from the first round, around 30 people were expected to remain in this round. Matches were going to take place. The rules were simple. Whoever wins advances and whoever loses is eliminated. Duanfeng turned towards them and with a serious gaze asked them to choose the team captain. Everyone started talking among themselves, and our boy felt that many gazes were going to focus on him. Just then, Luo Sandao and Mu Hankyu appeared behind them, and with a smile formed a heart with their arms, saying that they wanted Jiang to be the captain. Our boy couldn't help but feel somewhat embarrassed. He put his hand over his face and tried to pretend as if he didn't know who they were. Dao Jiang began to smile. He extended his hand to form a heart with his companion, saying that they also wanted Jiang to be the captain. His friend did not form the heart. He simply turned towards him, gave a thumbs up and with a sincere expression mentioned that he also agreed with the idea. Jiang couldn't help but feel somewhat confused, although deep down he knew he should feel happy. Bai Feng and Jiang Wushuang were also present. With a calm gaze, Bai Feng explained that he and Tang Ying wanted Jiang Wushuang to be the captain since although Jiang Cheng was very strong, after all, Jiang Wushuang was more stable. Jiang Wushwang's gaze fixed on our boy. He didn't know why everyone wanted him to be the captain. A girl who was next to Jiang mentioned that she also wanted Jiang to be the captain because he was very handsome. The blonde-haired man joined her. Jiang started touching his head with his hand and with a forced smile explained that he didn't know who they were. The woman placed her hand on her chest and with a tender expression introduced herself as Lai Bing. The blue-haired boy began pointing to himself with his thumb and with a confident smile introduced himself as Prince. Jiang Wushuang approached our boy, placed his hand on his shoulder, and with a kind smile he also decided to vote for Jiang just to lighten the mood. Jiang snapped out of his trance, turned around and upon seeing this, he couldn't help but start sweating. He placed his hand on his chest, sighed, and explained that he didn't want to be the captain because he couldn't handle so much pressure. Everyone remained silent, while on the other side Duanfeng got angry. With an enraged expression, he asked Jiang to stop acting in front of him since it would take him another 800 years to fool someone like him. Now that everyone trusted him, he had to do it well. Jiang took several steps back and his attention fixed on Duanfang. He was somewhat surprised to see the reaction of this old man. Duanfang extended his hand to one side, and a staircase made of ice appeared. He began observing them, revealing that the Jiangnan war zone had been intimidated for many years. This time changing their fate depended on them. This staircase led to the teleportation space. It was a gift for them. He wished them success in every way. The king of the celestial sword would be waiting for them above. He would act as the representative of the country and would accompany them to the Qin Luo base. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.